How's it going, everyone? Welcome. My name's Jeff, and today I wanted to make the first video of an ongoing series about the ancient copper mining in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Now, in the 16 and 1700s, the explorers coming across the Upper Peninsula came across many of the Native Americans that revered copper in either jewelry or nugget form as almost godlike, like they had powers. They revered them as, like, they worshipped them. And they didn't know where they came from. They said they found them around from the mines, or they float copper. You can find float copper all over the Midwest, upper Midwest and upper Michigan. And I wasn't sure how I was going to start this series, but I was going to begin with just a brief overview, but it kind of got mixed up when there's a huge announcement today in archaeological news, and it pertained to Michigan's Upper Peninsula. So I'm going to hit that real quick before I get into my portion, just as a look for something to look forward to coming down the road. And now that is been announced and it adds to kind of what I've been researching and what I'm going to try to do with my series here from here on out. So yesterday, April 16th, 2025, I opened up X and found a post from an account I follow, Occam's Razor. And it's just one of many archaeological and historical type accounts I follow. Go follow Occam's Razor. Great content over there. Lots of very good community of things. And his post said, "We are so excited to share with our friends here. We can confirm right here, right now, Michigan copper has been found in the old world. Science by the best two labs in the world down to parts per billion has proven this." So, and that was as of yesterday. And I got excited. I'm like, all right, well, finally, something's coming around from this. It ties into what I've been researching. I mean, I have the luxury of living in the Upper Peninsula, so I can easily have access to these areas and sites that were part of the old copper complex in the 1200 to 5000, even maybe BC, possibly even older. We don't really know. Unfortunately, a lot of these sites have been destroyed or used as modern day mining pits where the old copper pits were. They built modern day mines on top of them because of the copper content in the soil there, or in the rock. And then also logging, if there was anything here, mounds or old ancient earthworks, anything, most likely gone, except for a few that I'm hopefully going to cover eventually down the road here. So stay tuned for that someday. So today, April 17th, 2025, I once again opened up X on my lunch break, and I found this tweet from Ricardo Caviaro, History of Myths and Legends. Go follow him. Great stuff over there as well. And it goes over that some Bronze Age tools that they dated to about 3,500 years ago were actually contained copper mined in Michigan. Now that's huge because that would blow any doubt of transatlantic trade in the old world to the new world millennia before anyone thought that any trade would have gone on here. So looking forward to that in full detailed announcement. You can go check out the tweet right now yourself on Ricardo Calvario, History, Myths, and Legends. Very interesting stuff. Full release on the paper and analysis tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Go check it out. All right. So what I'm going to be covering from this first video on is the old copper complex, or also known as the old copper culture, and has different names, But it's basically, I'm going to be focusing on the mining the copper up in the Upper Peninsula, Isle Royale, possibly northern Minnesota, and just trying to discuss and figure out who exactly did it. Where did it all go? Now, you might be wondering what I'm saying by where did it all go. I'm just going to get into some numbers right now because there's no definitive number on how much copper was actually mined in the BC era, but there's some reports of 5 million tons up to 50 million pounds. Some even say 500 million, but I think that might be a bit far-fetched. And how they get those numbers, I'll detail a video in the future over those numbers, but what I want to get started with is just what we know, or don't know, I suppose you could say. I'm going to give you a quick rundown, not from the very beginning, we'll get to that eventually, but in 1766, Alexander Henry was sent as an agent of the Minnesota mine to the Ontonagon area, Ontonagon, Michigan, to look for possible sites for sinking in a mine, a copper mine or silver mine, any kind of precious metals we could find. And he came across what is known as the Ontonagon boulder. It is a massive chunk of copper that float copper, I believe, that was sitting on the side of the Ontonagon River. It is now at the Smithsonian. It's supposed to be displayed, but as far as I'm aware, I think they have it locked in the basement. It was only displayed a few times or for a handful of years, but they do not display it anymore. In 1850, Samuel Knapp discovered the first known ancient mining pit. The pit was filled with 26 feet of clay and molding vegetation from thousands of years of laying dormant. And what he found at the bottom of the pit was a massive chunk of copper that the original miners had dug out of the ground and removed it from the rock and were able to lift it up about 5 feet and put wooden billets or logs underneath to keep it aloft to break all the sharp chunks of copper off that you could easily and readily take. Now, mind you, when I say big, I mean it was 10 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet thick, and an estimated weight of 6 tons. And these miners were able to get it out of the rock just enough to where they could move it out to their working area and then lift it up 5 feet on the logs and then hammer off all the sharp protruding edges that they could use for making tools and jewelry or anything they wanted to. But and then they left it there because it was too much for them to get out of the hole. From then on, the explorers and mine representatives that were searching for places to build mines, to sink mines, began finding these pit-like depressions all over the place, all over, namely the Keweenaw Peninsula in Michigan, which is the northern protruding horn of the state, I guess you could call it. And eventually they made their way to Isle Royale, which they found hundreds, if not thousands, of these pits and depressions and either test holes or possible mines that were fruitful with copper. And which is hard to fathom when you think they figure there's about 5,000 mine pits that were in the UP alone. So, and there's many different speculations on how much copper was taken out, but we really don't know for sure. Most of these sites eventually became modern day copper mines beginning in the 1800s, mid 1800s, and fueled the copper boom across the world. Produced copper for the entire country, any copper needs, up until the 1930s during the Great Depression when, well, we know how that went. And then eventually the main mining material in the UP was iron ore. So the main question that historians, archaeologists, and history buffs alike have asked is, where did all the copper mined go? If that much copper was presumed to have been mined from the ancients 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, where did it go? Now, we found the one theory that was always on a lot of people's minds was, did it go to Europe? Did it make it to the old world? Because this copper mining did take place mostly during the Bronze Age. And incidentally, around the same time that the Bronze Age civilizations collapsed, the mining in the Upper Peninsula also halted. Now, I'm not saying that that's definitive, but in lieu of recent discoveries, that could be what happened. No, I'm not saying that the white man came over and mined it, and no, I'm not saying that. We don't know who actually mined it. We've not been able to find any burial sites, any graves, even, or any permanent settlements anywhere near these mines. Just from what has been found are temporary looking sites for probably just sleeping, cooking, eating, etc. So they didn't leave any permanent at the time of the mining, at least that we found, or that anyone's found. So it could have been the Native Americans that were up here at the time. It could have been a wandering tribe of hunter-gatherers that decided to just start mining copper because it looked pretty. We don't know. But that's what I'm hoping to eventually try to figure out. lots of artifacts throughout the years have been found. You know, copper arrowheads, copper axes, wedges, all sorts of tools, jewelry, and some have actually been found in southern states in the mounds, in the mound complexes and effigy mounds and whatnot. Did it, and in my opinion, from everything that I've seen, everything I've read, looked up, there was a massive prehistoric, trade going on across the Americas, throughout Europe, that we can't even fathom. They find artifacts from different sides of the country in places where none of those materials belong or are sourced from there. We don't really know where it went. There is speculation or theories that it could have fueled the Bronze Age. There's lots of documents and books out there that describe and go through the amount of copper that the Bronze Age consumed in Europe didn't add up to the amount of mining that they know of in the Europe. Whereas in the United States, the amount of copper mined here, what's been found and what's been cataloged, is not anywhere near what they assume has been mined from here. So what I plan on doing with my channel is making this series and breaking down little bits of the stories that I have access to, or anything that I can find, breaking down historical figures that were involved in the discoveries or the archaeological digs, or anything that happened that we have access to. Now, I also want to go over theories, different theories of what may have happened to the copper, who might have mined the copper. I'm not an expert. I'm going to say that. Should have said that at the beginning of the video, but I am not an expert. I'm just a guy that's curious about all this stuff, and I just want to look for any answers that I can, especially being that I live here. I have better chance than a lot of people to get out there and try to find anything. So yeah, that's all I have for right now. I'm going to try to do a weekly upload of any videos in this series, or I'll take a break and upload a video on something else that could be interesting in historical archaeological news that comes out, like the story about the copper being from Michigan found in Europe. So go check that out tomorrow. And you can find me on X at Jeff_up_north, and go give me a follow, or if you want, or if you have anything you want to share with me, or stories or anything you know about Michigan or Copper Complex, I'd love to hear it and talk to you about it, and maybe work it in and add it to the show, talk about it. So all right, thanks, we'll catch you later.